At 58 years old, Jason Statham still moves with the explosive power of a man half his age. But behind the scenes of his latest blockbuster, a team of medical specialists just issued a hard ban that could end his career as we know it. It wasn't a lack of skill that forced their hand, it was a terrifying discovery hidden deep within his own spine that he never saw coming. The routine medical examination, mandated by Hollywood insurers before production began on his highly anticipated 2026 projects, was supposed to be a mere formality. For decades, Statham has operated under the assumption that his body is bulletproof, surviving near-death plunges, torn muscles, and bone-crushing impacts without ever slowing down. But the high-resolution MRI scans presented to the studio heads in early 2026 revealed a grim reality that no amount of martial arts training could fix. The cartilage between his vertebrae had practically vanished. Doctors delivered a brutal, uncompromising ultimatum. If Statham attempted another high-impact fall, a signature combat sequence, or even a hard landing on set, he risked permanent, irreversible paralysis. The action star who built his entire multi-billion-dollar brand on doing his own stunts was suddenly facing a forced retirement from the one thing that defined him. To understand how one of Hollywood's most durable physical specimens reached this breaking point, we have to look at the relentless physical toll of his recent film schedule. During the late 2025 production of the gritty action thriller Shelter, directed by Rick Romanois, Statham pushed himself to the absolute limit. He was portraying a reclusive former assassin, a role that demanded visceral, close-quarters combat and heavy physical exertion. Behind the scenes, crew members noticed something unusual. Between takes, the normally stoic actor was frequently seen holding his neck, rubbing his right shoulder, and quietly stretching his spine to alleviate a deep, persistent ache. It wasn't just the standard soreness of a grueling shoot. In interviews leading up to the film's 2026 release, Statham himself admitted that decades of doing his own stunts had left him with a torn bicep, a severely messed up neck, broken ribs, and a wrist fracture that never properly healed. He treated these injuries as mere occupational hazards, badges of honor in a career dedicated to cinematic realism. But his stubbornness was masking a silent, degenerative catastrophe. In late 2025, during a high-speed vehicle sequence that required a sudden, jarring stop, Statham experienced a sharp, blinding flash of pain radiating down his left arm. It was a classic symptom of severe nerve compression, but he refused to stop filming. He pushed through the pain to complete Shelter, but as negotiations began for his upcoming slate, including the highly anticipated sequel The Beekeeper 2 and Guy Ritchie's Viva La Madness, the production insurers stepped in. They refused to underwrite the massive budgets of these films unless Statham underwent a comprehensive independent neurological evaluation. What the specialist discovered under those harsh clinic whites changed everything, exposing the shocking structural damage that 30 years of extreme impact had done to his neck. The medical report was shocking enough, but the real crisis erupted behind closed doors when the results reached Statham's home. His longtime partner, supermodel Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, was handed the neurological assessment detailing a severe C5-C6 herniation and advanced cervical stenosis, a narrowing of the spinal canal that left his spinal cord with practically zero buffer zone. The threat of paralysis wasn't a distant theoretical risk. It was an immediate, terrifying reality. Armed with this official medical diagnosis, Rosie reportedly confronted Statham with a devastating ultimatum. She made it clear that she would no longer stand by and watch him gamble with his mobility, demanding that he either accept the doctor's restrictions or face the collapse of their family stability. For the first time in his life, the ultimate tough guy was cornered, forced to choose between the reckless physical authenticity that made him a superstar and the desperate pleas of the people who loved him. To truly comprehend the gravity of this medical ban, we have to look at the unique psychology that drove Jason Statham to this precipice. Unlike most of his Hollywood contemporaries who rely heavily on digital effects, green screens, and highly trained stunt doubles, Statham built his reputation on a fierce, almost fanatical devotion to physical realism. He famously criticized what he called Ponzi actors who pretend to do their own stunts while standing in front of a green screen, arguing that if an actor is paid millions of dollars, they owe it to the audience to actually do the work. This wasn't just marketing bravado. It was a philosophy forged during his youth as an elite competitive athlete. Long before he ever stepped onto a movie set, Statham spent 12 years as a member of Great Britain's national diving team, competing at the 1990 Commonwealth Games. The repetitive, high-velocity impact of hitting the water from 10-meter platforms thousands of times laid the initial groundwork for his spinal degeneration. When he transitioned into action cinema with Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, his athleticism became his primary weapon. As his career exploded with the Transporter franchise, Crank, and the Fast and Furious series, the physical demands reached astronomical levels. He wasn't just throwing choreographed punches. He was dangling from helicopters, crashing through windows, and performing high-speed motorcycle slides. The sheer volume of cumulative trauma is staggering. On the set of The Expendables 3, Statham came close to losing his life when the brakes failed on a 3-ton truck he was driving. The vehicle plummeted off a wooden dock and sank 60 feet into the icy waters of the Black Sea. While co-stars like Terry Crews and Sylvester Stallone watched in absolute horror, Statham used his Olympic-level diving skills to escape the sinking cab and swim to the surface. Though he famously brushed the incident off, laughing that he only snapped a shoelace, the violent impact of that plunge and the rapid pressure change underwater dealt another massive, silent blow to his already vulnerable cervical spine. By the time he began prepping for his 2026 films, those decades of microtraumas had coalesced into a medical nightmare. The specialist's hard ban was not a friendly piece of advice. It was a legally binding roadblock. In Hollywood, every major film requires a completion bond, which is essentially an insurance policy guaranteeing that the movie will be finished, even if the lead actor is injured or incapacitated. When the independent medical examiners flagged Statham's spinal condition, the insurance underwriters refused to issue the bond unless a strict, legally binding amendment was added to his contracts. This no-stunt clause prohibited Statham from performing any action sequences involving high-impact falls, wire work, or close-quarters combat that could cause whiplash. This created a massive logistical nightmare for directors like Rick Romanwall and Guy Ritchie. The very selling point of a Jason Statham movie, the promise that you were watching the actual actor perform these death-defying feats, was suddenly illegal. Productions had to secretly hire elite stunt doubles to mimic Statham's signature movement style, utilizing clever camera angles, facial replacement CGI, and rapid editing to maintain the illusion of his physical dominance. For Statham, a man who prides himself on his blue-collar work ethic and physical integrity, being forced to stand on the sidelines while a double wore his clothes and performed his fights was a profound psychological blow. Today, at 58, Jason Statham stands at a critical crossroads. The physical bill for his legendary career has finally come due, and the currency is his own skeletal health. While he remains in peak aesthetic shape, looking as chiseled and formidable as he did 2 decades ago, the invisible structural damage beneath the surface has permanently altered the trajectory of his career. He can no longer fight his way out of this reality. The hard ban imposed by medical specialists and enforced by Hollywood's powerful insurers represents a tragic shift for an action icon who refused to fake it. As he transitions into a new era of filmmaking, we are left to wonder if the audience will accept a Jason Statham who is protected by the very green screens and stunt doubles he once openly despised. Ultimately, the man who spent a lifetime defying gravity and surviving the impossible has finally met an opponent he cannot defeat, the relentless, unforgiving reality of his own body. And as the camera rolls on his next project, the haunting question remains: how long can the illusion of the invincible action hero survive when the man behind the myth is just one bad fall away from never walking again?